I'd like to thank everybody for joining me today. Today, I want to talk about key person insurance. I think this is such a valuable piece to our business owner clients because it helps maintain continuity of the business if a key person doesn't show up for work. And that can show up, they've passed away, they've taken another job, they retired, whatever it is. We want to make sure that the business is protected and can move forward and effectively maintain all of its relationships and most of all maintain its value and revenue. So if you think about who is the key person, I think that's the big key, is figuring out who is it that makes this business run. And it really could come from a bunch, several different areas. Of course, a lot of times it's the owner. This owner could be the one that drives strategies and has the relationships and really is irreplaceable in the short term. But there again, the owners in closely held businesses might be that key person. It might be somebody completely different. And we've got to be honest as we go through here to identify who is the right person or right people that we need to take care of. Of course, if we have a rainmaker, this is the person that's going to bring in and generate that revenue. That is their role. Drive revenue, drive in, bring in new clients, maintain those client relationships. And if we lose this rainmaker, do we lose those key relationships, and do we lose the revenue that makes this whole thing run? Finally, we can have the specialist. Now, if you think about a specialist, this is somebody with very unique technical skills. Often they hold that institutional knowledge of how the business runs. They're the ones that have those skills to do the key parts of this business that are hard to replace. And finally, the last one's the operator. Think about this as high level management, maybe even mid level management. These are the people that are really making sure those processes are followed. Now, anybody in these groups could be the key people, and there may be others that we don't want to overlook, but it's one that, if we lost one of these people, we're going to have issues maybe with our banking relationships, maybe with a bunch of our key clients. Maybe it'll upset some of our employees. So identifying who that key person is the first step here. Next, you think about what's at stake if you lose a key person. You know, a lot of times it's an emotional time, especially if somebody's passed on or became disabled. Sometimes it's when they retire. It's emotional, but this goes beyond emotional. This is where that effect shows up in the financial statements, the balance sheet, the revenue. And the business is now taking a hit. So if you start looking at what's at stake, of course, revenue. If we lose, our rainmaker, or we lose somebody that is key to making those projects flow through the business. At that point, those projects and may just stall out. And so we lose revenue because we can't produce anymore. If we lose the relationship person, our clients may just walk away. So revenue takes a huge hit. Of course, if we have banking relationships, covenants on our borrowing, and we lose that key employee, now our lenders are not confident in the viability of the business anymore, and that can be a problem. If you think about the recruiting cost, well, if we the more unique that individual is, the harder it is to replace them. Think about the cost of just hiring a company, a headhunter, to go out and find the right person, not just skill, not just that competence of that part of their job, but also having the right personality to fit back into that to make sure the whole business is running. And not only is it hard to sometimes find that person, but it takes time to get them back up, get up to speed, and that ramp up could take days, months, maybe years to overcome the loss of that key person. We have to be ready for that. Finally, that continuity. When somebody walks out and the knowledge of our business is in their head, well, we lost them. Now we got to somehow replace it. And a lot of times during these types of transitions, the employee morale and the momentum of the business is going to dip. And are we prepared to overcome that with the right person and the right plan? When you look at key person insurance, and the reason I like the insurance here is it covers us potentially of course, with the death benefit. Could be, something that can help cover the disability of a key person. And if we're using cash value life insurance, we're building up that cash value to have that what if bucket of money ready to help us replace this key person if they retire or just take another job. Whatever it is, we want to come over that, be able to overcome the financial shock to the business that key loss has caused. So if you think about the policy, the company's going to apply for a policy on our key person. Our key person has to, submit to that insurance underwriting. They have to, be willing to have this policy on their life. The company's going to pay the premiums on this policy. When they pay those premiums, it is not deductible. You know, every business would love to deduct every check they write. This is a check that they cannot deduct. We don't want to even look at thinking about deducting that premium because the death benefit now would become taxable. Finally, that if it's done right, the death benefit is going to be income tax free. That's a key, I think, to the business is now they have this money come in. It's not revenue. It's received income tax free. There again, if the policy's designed correctly, but we get that infusion of capital that we can turn around and do exactly what we need to do with that money. And finally, we've got the funds to go out and bridge the gap. We've got this gap in revenue. We've got this gap in value. We've got this gap in timing. The money that can come in on this from the insurance policy is going to help us overcome that gap so that we can keep the business operating. We can keep the business going, and we have the funds to really go out and get that next person in as fast as possible. Once we do this, think about how we can put these proceeds to work. It's not only just identifying the people, getting the key person coverage in place, but it's also think through how we're going to deploy these funds that are coming in to make it all work. Well, the biggest one, it's going to bridge that revenue gap. It's going to cover that gap that allows us to make sure we can stabilize the business. And that's the goal of this, is creating a good, stable environment in a tough time, in a time that is, could affect our business. It allows us to go out and recruit and train this new person or new people. It gives us the funds to make sure we're getting the right person as quick as we can. We're not just trying to, put a square peg in a round hole. We're looking for the right person so that we don't lose that ability to move our company forward. So the funds are there, they're immediate, and it allows us to move quicker and get the right person and get them trained. It's going to reassure our lenders and clients. I think this is key because, if a customer sees the wrong people leaving the company, they start questioning, does the company have the ability to do the work? Or am I going to follow if that key person went to another company? Are we going to lose that customer because they think, oh, the business opportunity is going to be somewhere else? Finally, as we talked about, our business owner may be our key employee or may be one of our key employees. That's okay. Now we have to separate this problem out. It's not just the change in ownership, but it's also the time that we're losing a key person. So we might have a buy-sell issue separate from our key person issue. So we want to make sure we're handling both things so we get the right result going forward. So if you look at this, key person is the ability to help our business owner clients overcome the gap that's going to happen if we were to lose a key person. So identify our key people, make sure we get the funding done with a key person life insurance policy, and identify the amount of coverage that we're going to need, that what if bucket ready to go to make sure we can keep our business intact. So I appreciate everybody getting on. If you have questions, reach out. If not, we'll talk again next week. Thank you.